Welcome to Flutter Teacher. In our last videos, we have seen what is list, different features of list. We also seen various methods and properties that the list class supports. In this specific video, we are going to learn another important collection in the Dart that is called a set. So before you start the video, let's look at a topic that we'll cover in this session. We'll start from what is set, then different ways of creating the set. We'll talk about how to access individual elements in the set. Basically, we don't have that index option to access the elements, but there is some trick to access the individual element. Then we'll move on to different loops that we can use to iterate the set. We'll talk about immutable and constant set. And finally, I will explain 6 silent features of set that every Dart and Flutter programmer must know. So without wasting time, let's get started. What basically set is? A set is unordered collection of unique items. So set is very much similar to the list, as we have seen that list is the collection of items. So in the same way, set is also a collection of items where we can store multiple values. That is, we can have the collection of integers, there can be collection of double values, a collection of string values, or there might be collection of student object, employee objects, and so on. But what's the big difference between the set and the list is, in case of list, your original order of inserting element is preserved. But in case of set, if you are adding the elements in the set, make sure that the order in which you are adding the element, there is no guarantee that your original order will be preserved. And one more important thing is, in case of list, it's possible to have duplicate items or duplicate entries. But in case of set, it's not at all possible. That is, in case of set, duplicate elements are not allowed. You might have a question, what happens if you try to insert duplicate elements in the set? Don't worry, in this case, you never get any error or any exception. The Dart simply ignores your operations that you are trying to add the duplicate elements. In case of set, we cannot access the individual element using the index because in set, there are no index available as we have seen in the case of list. That is, we use the index of 0, index of 1 and so on, and we go on accessing the element. So this is not the case with the set because set don't have the concept called index. That's the reason we cannot access them using the index that we have used in case of the list. Moreover, the values of set cannot be modified. It means once we have added the value 10 in the set and you want this 10 should be replaced by value 50. So practically it's not possible. However, what you can do, you can remove the value 10 and we can add the value 50. But you can't replace that 10 by the value 50. However, using some logic, using some technique, we can mimic that one, but actually it's not going to happen. You might create another set by replacing those values at specific index or that specific position, but actually you cannot modify the values. Next, set is actually a predefined class. This is actually an abstract class, and linked has set is a default implementation of set in the Dart. Whenever you go with set class or whenever you create any set object in your Dart, actually Dart creates the linked has set object for you. Let's look at the ways of creating set in the Dart. Dart actually supports several ways of creating the set. Let's talk about them one by one. Let's talk about creating the empty set. We can simply create empty set by simply using this set. Make sure that the set is name of the class and S has to be capital here. So I can write set, the name of the set is equals to the pair of curly bracket. This pair of curly bracket is simply reserved for creating the set. These brackets are also known as the set literals. So we can simply create the empty set in this case. There is another way we can use the var keyword, simply write the name of set and we have to specify the specific type of element that the set will hold. Simply we can put the empty pair of curly brackets. And one more way is using set and just pass the specific type of your element you want. Then pass the name of set that you want and just you can use again the type here and just pass the pair of braces here. Or the last way is you can use var keyword or maybe the set you want. Specify name of the set and use set identity constructor. So this also gives you the empty constructor. So there are 4 different ways using which we can create the empty set. Now you might have a question, what's the big difference between each of them? When we create a set in this case, So in this case, you are actually specifying a type of each values explicitly. This kind of specification is called as explicit type specification. Whereas in this case, whenever you use this set and all these things, you're not specifying actual type of the values. The type of set will be decided based on the value that you're assigning, and it will be done by the concept called type inference. Now, when I run this program, you can see the set 1, 2, 3, and 4. They will give me that all these things are basically the sets. Now, there is very important thing to notice that in case of line number 6, I have specified int in this bracket. Now, if I remove bracket from this one, now what's going to happen? So if I rerun the program, just observe what is the runtime type of this set 2. You can see for this set 2, the runtime type is not actually a set, it's a map. The reason here is in case of Dart, the curly brackets are reserved for set as well as the map. So as I'm not specifying any type here, by default, this type of set creation or this type of variable creation won't result in set, rather it results in creating the map. However, if I specify the int here, now it's a type of set and it's not a map. Now you might have a big question that what makes it confirmed to be a type of set and why not a map? The reason here is in case of map is a key value pair combination of value. So as I'm specifying only one thing, that is I'm specifying only int here, so it is not a pair of value, it is the individual value. You can see in case of map there has to be two values in this angular bracket. The first specifies the type of key and second specifies the type of value. So as I'm specifying only one type here, so it is confirmly a set, it is not a map. But let's say if I specify in this way, let's say I'm specifying int and int. So it means set 2 is now a map, and it is a map of values where each key is of type int and value is again of type integer. So when I run this program, you can see for set 2 it's not actually a map. Okay, I have written the name set 2 here, but it's actually a map, and here it's a map where each element is having a key in the form of integer and value is again in the form of integer. It's also possible to create a set with initial values. For this thing, simply you have to write the name of your set and within pair of curly bracket specify the values that you want inside your set. In this case, you can see I have created a set called names where I have specified the values Mark, Alex and James here, and I'm simply printing the values here. In the next set, that is in the set of items, it is a set of integer values here I have, and I have specified some values. You can see the value 20 I have repeatedly written here. The reason here is to make you guys understandable that when I'm printing the values of item, you can see in my output 20 is not appearing twice, rather it has appeared only once. The reason is in case of set, each and every value is unique and duplicate values are not allowed. That's the reason even if I specified 20 two times in my set, it is actually taking 20 once in the set, not the twice. Now, what's the big difference between this one and this one? When I use the set in this way, it is a dynamic kind of set, that is, it is a generic kind of set. In this set, I can add a value of any type. You can see I have three values of string type and I can specify some integer value. Let's say I'm writing 10 and 20. So it's perfectly fine. If I run this program, this simply works because the set that I have created the names, this is actually a dynamic kind of set and it is actually a dynamic kind of set, and you can say this is like a generic set, we can add any kind of value. But in case of items, as I'm specifying set int, it means item is a set and this int specifies each and every element of this item must be of type integer. So if I try to add any other kind of value, let's say if I'm trying 5.7, now you can see immediately I'm getting error from the Dart pad that it says the element type double cannot be assigned to set type int. So it's not possible. So hope it's very much clear for you guys. Whenever you use var keyword and just create a set, it is a kind of dynamic or it is a kind of generic set where you can add any kind of values to it. But if you want a specific type of set, then simply go with this concept which is called generics. We'll cover generics in our upcoming videos, don't worry about it. Dart allows us to create this set from another set of values. For this, Dart has given three different constructors. These are the set.from, set.op and set.unmodifiable. Let's examine this example. In this case, I have created a set name called set1. I have specified three values here, 10, 20 and 30. Now what I want to do, I want to create a set2 and I want the values of set2 should come from the set1. So simply I can use set.from, just specify the set1. It means the values of set2 will be taken from set1. Now, similar to this from constructor, I can use of constructor. Look at this one. I have specified where set3 is equals to set of the set1. In this case, the set3 will be created and the set3 will get the values from set1. You might have a question that this from and this of, they are looking similar and they are giving the similar result. What's actually the difference between this from and the of? It's very simple to understand. In case of from constructor, there is no type checking done during compile time. On other hand, if you use of, there is a strong type checking done during the compile time. Let's observe this one. Let's say I'm specifying a string here. So what do you mean by string? It means when I'm creating set2, I'm expecting that the set1 should be in the form of string. All the string value should be taken and it should be assigned to set2. But practically it's not the case. You can see set1 is in the form of integer. But this from constructor is not giving me any error during compile time. That is, if I'm just looking at this program, Dartpad is not taking care of this one. This is because of the from constructor. It don't have any static type checking. So if I run this program, I will get an exception. So when I do the same thing with of constructor, now you can see immediately this Dartpad is giving me the error. The argument types set of integer cannot be assigned to parameter of type iterable string. There is one more way of creating set from another set, that is using set.unmodifiable. If I use this constructor, I can get another set by using these set values of existing set. But in this case, whatever set that I am creating, it is actually an unmodifiable set, that is, it is a constant kind of set, so that I cannot add the new element, even I cannot remove the element from the set. Let's talk about accessing the individual elements in the set. As we have seen in the beginning of the session, it's not possible to access individual elements of set using the index. That is, we have the set here, the name of set is animal. I have specified some animals here. And what I want to do, I simply want to print the value of first animal, that is animals of 0 here. So in this case, if I'm trying this one, you can see Dartpad is giving me an error. The reason here is, in case of set, it's not at all possible to access the element using this index kind of technique that we have seen in case of list. There is one more alternative of doing it. Set provides a method called element add, where you can specify the index and you can happily print the values. Let's look at this output. If I'm running this program, okay, I can get the elements at 0th index, 1 index, 2nd index and 3rd index. This technique is not at all recommended because in set, original order of your element is not preserved. That's the reason nobody prefers to access the element using this index or this specific element add method. Let's talk about various loops that we can use to iterate elements in the set. Set can be iterated using 3 different for loops. These are for in, for each, and even a simple for loop. Just look at this example. Here I have created a set of animals with the values dog, cat, lion, and the monkey. I can use a for in loop. So simply I have used for, then I have specified this single animal in the set of animals, and I can print the animals here. When I run this program, you can see I'm getting the output dog, cat, lion, and the monkey. The second approach is I can use the forEach loop. In case of forEach loop, I need to specify a function that accepts single element as a parameter, and this function will iterate for each and every element of the set. So simply I can use where animal, which specifies the single element, and I'm printing the single element here. So for this second approach, that is for this forEach loop, I'm getting the output dog, cat, lion, and the monkey. It's also possible to iterate the values of set using normal for loop. Now, in case of normal for loop, I have specified index from 0 because, but don't rely that I'm talking about accessing elements using index. It is just a technique I'm telling you guys. So I'm starting from the 0th index up to the length -1, then just increase the value of I by 1. And to access the individual element, I'm using a technique called element add, which is simply a method that gives me element at specific position. So when I run this program, it's also giving me the dog, cat, lion, and the monkey. Now let's talk about what is immutable, that is constant kind of set. Immutable or constant kind of set is that basically the set in which it's not possible to add the element or not possible to remove the element. So it is a kind of set which has a fixed kind of values. Just look at this example. In this case, I am creating a set of fruits here. In order to make my set constant or immutable, I have used the keyword called const, and these are the values that I want inside the set. I'm trying to add a new element in the fruit, that is fruit.addBanana. But when I run this program, you can see I'm getting an exception because it's not possible to add the element in the set because it's actually the unmodifiable set. Even if I try to remove some element, let's say I'm writing remove and I'm passing some value here. Let's say simply remove the value called mango. If I write remove mango, then again, if I'm running this program, you can see I will get an exception because it's not at all possible. It's not even possible to remove the element. So this kind of set where it's not possible to add the element, not even to remove the element, this type of sets are called the constant or immutable set. Make sure that I have used const keyword here. It means this fruit set is a constant, that is I cannot add or remove any fruit from this set, that is any value from this set. When I use const keyword here, it means of course all my set values are constant. I cannot add the new element, even I cannot remove the element, and even I cannot modify value of these fruits here. That is, I cannot write this fruit is equals to again some values. Let's say I'm trying this one. So in this case, it's not at all possible because this fruit object is constant. So I cannot modify the value of this fruit. Let's move on to very important concept of this session, that is the silent features supported by set. Basically, I'm explaining here 6 different silent features that the set support. So let's understand one by one. Let's look at the first one. Whenever we create a set, it's possible to use if and for in case of set creation. Let's look at this example. Here I simply want to create a set of items. 10 and 20, these are the first and second values in the set that I want. Then in order to get the value 30, I'm simply specifying a condition that 10 should be greater than 5. As this condition is true, that's the reason this 30 will appear inside this item's value. Then I want to get values from 1 to 5. For getting the values, I'm simply using a for loop as a generator here. And when I print these items, you can see I will get the values 10, 20. These are the values that I specified. 30 I'm getting using this condition, and this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 I'm receiving values from the loop. Now now just consider that I have changed the condition. I made the condition 10 greater than 50, which is actually a false condition. That's the reason 30 won't appear in this set of items. You can see 30 is not there in my output. Let's look at the second point. When we create a set, it's possible to use spread operator so that we can create the set values from another set values. In this case, we can use the normal spread operator, or you can also use null aware spread operator in case of null safety. Let's examine this example. Here I have a set 1 with 3 values 1, 2, 3, and I want to create set 2. For the set 2, 10 and 20, these are the initial values that I want, and remaining values I want to get from set 1. That's the reason simply I use these 3 dots and then I have specified the set 1. It means the values of set 1 will appear inside the set 2, and if I run this program, you can see for set 1 I have the values 1, 2, 3, but for set 2 we have the values 10, 20. These are the actual values that I have specified, and remaining values it has taken from the set 1. Let's look at the third point. So consider this example. Here I have the fruit. Here I have the set of fruit, and I have specified 3 fruits here. And what I'm doing while printing the elements, I'm simply using fruits.element at 3. So as you guys can observe, actually I have only 3 elements in the set. So the last element is preferably the 2, it's not the 3. But what happens if I try to use 3 index here? In this case, I will get an exception called range error if I try to go beyond the limit or beyond the range of values available for the set index. Let's look at the fourth point. In case of iterating the set using for in loop or using the forEach loop, if you try to update values of your set, practically your values won't get updated. Let's look at this example properly. In this case, I have created a set of items here. So I have the element 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. What I'm doing here I'm simply trying to iterate my values using for in loop. That's the reason I've specified for, and I'm using var item in items. And while printing the elements, that is before printing the elements, I just want to add 1 inside this item. So practically I feel that when I run this program, you can see that on console I'm getting the values 11, 21, 31, 41 and 51. So I feel that I have modified the values, but practically it's not possible. You can see when I'm printing my original item values, my original values are as it is, they are not at all modified. Even in case of forEach loop, if I'm trying to do the same thing here, that is, I'm just trying to add value 5 in the item. So if I print it, I can see that I'm getting output like 15, 25, 35, 45 and 55. So I feel that I have modified the value. But again, if I'm printing the original item values, then I can see the values are not actually updated. This remains as it is. Now you might have a question, what happens if I'm using normal for loop to iterate that one? So if you use normal for loop, you have only one option, that is you have to use element add method, and using element add method you cannot modify the values. That's not at all possible. And as we have seen a few minutes before that, it's not at all possible to access set values using index. So using even normal for loop, you cannot modify the value of set. Let's look at a few points. Set is actually abstract class in the Dart. So as it is abstract class, it's not possible to create object using the set class constructor. But you can see in line number 5, I'm simply calling set class constructor, and we have seen this technique few minutes before. We have used so many constructors, that is set.off, set.from and set.unmodifiable. So how it's possible to call a constructor if it is the abstract class? So make sure that whatever constructor that set class has, all these are the factory constructor. That's the reason when you create the object using set class constructor, instead of creating the object of set class constructor, the object of its concrete implementation class is actually created by the Dart system. Try to understand this example. Here I have created a set of items and I have added 2 values inside this one, and I'm printing the values, and in order to check what is the actual type of this item, I'm simply running this program. Now you can see instead of creating the object of set, Dart is creating the object of linked hash set, because linked hash set is a concrete implementation of set. Let's look at the 6th and last point of this video. It's not possible to modify the values of set. That is, let's say if I want to modify value at second position, instead of this 30, I want to say value 100. You can see I'm getting error here, and if I try to run this program, you will get compile time error here. The reason is it's not possible to access the set elements by index. Now, in order to mimic that, I'm just modifying a value at specific index or modifying a specific value in the set. Simply, I have created a function called getModifiedSet. In this function, I need to pass total 3 parameters. The set values to be modified, that is the set in which values to modify, the index for which values to modify, and the third, that is the new value that I want to place instead of the existing value. Now, this is what the logic here. I have created empty set, and I'm simply iterating here. I'm checking if this index, that is if the value of I is matching with the given index. So if it is matching with given index, then inside this blank set, I'm adding the new value. Otherwise, inside this blank set, I'm adding the existing value of specific element. And after performing all the iteration, I'm returning this modified set, and I'm saving this modified set inside the new items. Now you can see when I run this program, instead of this value 30, the 100 is appeared here. So it mimics that I have replaced the value 30 by the value 100. But again, I'm saying for you guys, actually I haven't replaced this 30 by 100. I have actually created another set, and in that set, instead of storing the value 30, I have stored the value 100, and that another set I have stored in this new item. So if someone asks you that is it possible, actually it's not, but using some logic you can mimic that one, but it's really not possible. That's it for this video. See you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching this video. If you really like the way I'm explaining the concept, then don't forget to like my videos, share it, subscribe my channel, and don't forget to hit the bell notification button to get my latest videos.